Scouting is ROTC light? What? Hey, ScouterStan. Let's talk a little bit about a subject that came up from one of our viewers. Suggested that we talk about militarism in scouting. This is a major concern for a lot of people, and thinking about it, there's several things you need to think about. Now, the person who brought this up was Dank2000, as you can see here. They actually have this concern, and it shouldn't be a major concern. And this is why. Scouting kind of started with Baden-Powell or Baden-Powell, depending on how you pronounce it. BP started it all, and he was a military person. His entire working life was military. That's important to understand. He did scouting as a vocation. He invented it, and then he did it as something he did in his retirement from the military. Now, it's okay to think about scouting as a place for youth to start military, like a military career. That's fine. But that's not what scouting is about. Now, when BP was in the military, he knew this system. He knew how things worked. He knew the discipline of the flow, the chain of command, and all of that was very normal to him. He spent an incredibly long time in the military, very successful military career. Now, granted, there had to be some major changes. The patrol method requires that the members vote in their leader. That doesn't happen in the military. So this is something that is a part of scouting. Now, I do have a video on the patrol method. Please check it out later, and it will give you more information about how that works. Now, back on the militarism in scouting. Let's keep in mind that the first promise in the Scout oath or promise, the first thing we promise to do is duty to God and country. If you're in the UK, it would be king. So that is something that is all about it. And with scouting, it is critically important to understand that citizenship is incredibly important. No matter where you are, citizenship is very important. What does it take to be a good citizen? What does it take to be active in your community? These are questions that we ask early on with Scouts. And this is a huge thing in scouting. No other organization does that actually has their membership, all of their youth, go out and do activities for the community. You would be amazed all the thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours that are donated to communities all over the United States, all over the world, from Scouts just doing what they need to do in their own community. But there has been times when the government, the United States government, has actually asked scouting to do certain things. During World War I, they asked that scouting start conveying information from the government to the people. And they became messengers of what was going on, what they needed for the war effort. This was the Great War. That was something that they needed to do. And luckily, Scouts, being good citizens, stepped up to it. Now, as the Great War, World War I, continued, scouting actually started to help with bond sales. This was amazing. The monies that were raised for the war effort was incredible. And scout units would go out and give out information pamphlets and flyers and all kinds of things about the war effort and how people, the citizenship, could actually contribute towards the effort. This was amazing. It had never been done before. There was no organization around until the Scouts were there to carry the torch and help the war effort. Now, keep in mind, this is all civilian. It's not military. This was just helping have youth do things for their community. This was important. This was very important. On May 1st, 1919, Woodrow Wilson actually did a proclamation stating that there should be a Boy Scouts of America week. This promotion was to increase the numbers of youth getting involved in scouting. During the war, they were struggling with low numbers. This was a big issue, and it was important to get more youth involved in their community. And the Scouts had done a lot of service for America. Now, if you'd like to check out the proclamation, I have the actual documentation from the Library of Congress right below. You got to click the read more in the description. You hit the more button and it will give you all of the links to all of the neat stuff. And that's true on all the videos, by the way. Definitely check that out. Now, before we go any further, I do want to invite you to our monthly meeting. It's on the first Sunday of each month, and it's at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So you're more than welcome to join us and ask questions and just have fun. You know, that's one of those wonderful things about that meeting. I also want to thank everybody on Patreon for their continued support of our channel. And our channel members. You can be a channel member. You hit the join button and join up. There's all kinds of badges and emojis and different things. They even get the videos exclusively for themselves, ad-free, which is an added bonus. And then, of course, if you don't want to join in and do a monthly donation, you could always do a one-time donation by hitting the thanks button. So get involved. I really do appreciate all that you do in scouting and here on the channel. Now, during World War II, there was several phases there, but they needed metal, so they did metal drives. The Scouts went out and collected scrap metals, pots and pans that weren't being used anymore, different types of scrap metal, fences that were just decorative. They didn't actually do anything. They were made of metal. They would pull those down and help collect them and send them off to the war effort. And they did a lot of really good in the time. They did some pretty weird collections that you wouldn't think of. Old tires, very important. The rubber that the old tires are made of were extremely valuable. Fat, lard that would be rendered off of food. When they would make food, they would end up with a bunch of lard. That lard was critical to the war effort. So there was a lot of different kinds of collections. They even went as far as even helping out setting up victory gardens. Literally tearing out the lawn, which you can't eat, and turning it into vegetables. That was very important and good for the community. The service projects that they did were just amazing. Now, during the extreme times, war times, those kinds of things, the Scouts have been called on to do things for America. And there's no difference, but that does not imply militarism. If anything, it clearly says that it's about community and country. That is really what it's about. Yes, in scouting we have uniforms, and we have a structure and all that stuff. That comes from BP being in the military for so long. In fact, BP was actually asked about militarism. Quite literally, they asked him, is this a military organization? Now, he was stunned by this. He said, quote, humbug. It's a movement of peace and goodwill among men. And it's all based on the Scout Oath, promise, and law. These are the core values of Scouting. They are the actual pillars to the gate of Scouting. Okay, it is. Those are so important. They ride together. Okay, the Scout Oath and Scout Law. So incredibly important. And right in the very first part, the first promise in the oath is to country. Okay, God and country. That is so critical to what Scouting is about. It's not because we're a military organization. We're no more military than the Salvation Army. Okay, so people, and even Baden-Powell said humbug. I mean, it's. I'm sure if they asked anyone else, they would have used a different expletive than humbug. So it is amazing, all the stuff that goes on. And we do a lot of stuff for our Scouts. We give them these opportunities to help their community. Everything from service projects to doing colors at the local meeting. There's so many opportunities. Do it. Go out there. Make sure they have those moments that they'll remember for a lifetime. That's the wonderful thing about Scouting. And we give that to them. And we work hard towards that. And I am so very thankful that you're a part of Scouting, that you're a part of our channel. I am so proud of you. And until next time, I'll see you on the trail.